wondered how to play jazz bar chords? Well, you're in the right place. In this video, I'm going to show you some easy exercises to get what seems to be these tricky chords under your fingers comfortably and easily. Let's go to a close-up. Okay, so let's get started by looking at some of the most common jazz bar chord shapes. The first one I want to go through is this -7 shape. Now we're going to play A-7 on the 5th fret. So with an A-7, you'll often would have seen it like this. If you're more used to rock and pop, where you're barring with the whole first finger with the 3rd finger on the 7th fret of the 5th string. But we're not going to play it like that. In jazz, we're very mindful to not double up notes that don't need to be there. Now in this case, that E is doubling up the E on the 2nd string as well. So it's kind of like a duplicate note that can kind of put the sound of the chord off if you want to get that jazz sound. So we're going to clean up this chord, but how do we do that? Because it's a bit awkward. If we play this, just get rid of this 3rd finger, it means we're still barring with the 1st finger, but we're playing that 5th string note. So to get around that, we do this instead. You put your 2nd finger on the 6th string, and then your 3rd finger bars down over the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd strings. Now you can see that looks pretty unusual. What's weird about it though, it's quite comfortable once you get used to it. Now, here's the thing to be careful of. If you're a classical player, and I'm on a classical guitar, but you can see I can still play this chord fine, you'll see that my thumb is quite above the fretboard. It's around the neck here. In a lot of classical books, you'll see that they suggest that you play with the thumb in the middle of the neck all the time. Now that's really bad advice. It makes this particular chord incredibly uncomfortable, not to mention a lot of other chords and patterns on the guitar as well. I'll often be playing with my thumb above the fretboard. Let's say I'm playing with some, see, my thumb's quite upright like this. If I played it like this, it feels quite straining. It's good to use the thumb in the middle of the neck with say a standard rock chord, bar chord like this, but a lot of the time you don't need the thumb in the middle of the neck like that. And even one of my most influential classical players, who was an amazing classical player, he was always playing with his thumb above the fretboard like that. So especially you need that for these bar chords. Why? Because if we go back to that jazz bar chord shape, if I push my thumb up like this, it ends up clamping that 3rd finger down, so it's much easier to play that chord. That's the key with this shape, is bringing your hand around so that the thumb is quite high above the fretboard, and that clamps my 3rd finger down. Now, things to be mindful of here. Try to avoid pushing down that 5th string with the 2nd finger. Okay, that's important because that's the whole thing. That's the reason we've got this shape, to avoid that note being played. And also, you can put another A on the top there if you want, but again, it's putting too many notes into the voicing. So it's doubling up an A that doesn't really need to be there, making the chord sound too heavy. So make sure that that 3rd finger doesn't squash down the 1st string, it only squashes down the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd strings. Now you can still strum it, but see, it's muted as much as it can be. Okay, so that's the first shape that I want you to practice, is this A-7 shape on the 5th fret. Now let's go to a chord which goes together with that A-7 like peas and carrots go together on my dinner plate, which is a D9 chord. So a D7 chord, you can play it like a little triangle like this, with my 2nd finger on the 5th fret of the 5th string, my 1st finger on the 4th fret of the 4th string, and my 3rd finger on the 5th fret of the 3rd string. Now that's a D7. To make a D9 chord, you can simply flatten that finger over, and in this case I am going to flatten it over the top 3 strings. So it's a very similar looking shape. You can see the A-7 is just 1 string set across. You just push everything over and make sure that 1st finger is on the 4th fret of the 4th string, and it makes that shape there. Once again, you use this thumb high above the fretboard to clamp that 3rd finger bar down. Now, just remember, anything is easy with familiarity. If you're struggling with that, it's just unusual. You probably have never done it before, quite like this, and everything feels a little bit awkward and wrong when you first try it. But keep experimenting. Just try that chord, maybe just once or twice every day for a couple of weeks, and before long it'll be completely natural. So now let's do a little exercise where we're going to play between those two chords, the A-7 chord and the D9 chord. Okay, so let's just get a little swing backing track set up now, and we'll count it off, and then I want you to play together with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so let's do a few more instances of jazz bar chords. The first one that I want to go through with you is using the third finger to bar the chords for chords on the top 4 strings. So this is actually one of the easy ones. Now you notice in this case, my thumb isn't high on the neck. So the thumb's position is very flexible depending on what position you need the hands to be in. This is pretty straightforward. If you have your thumb, in this case, around the middle of the neck, and play with my first finger on the 3rd fret of the 4th string, and my 3rd finger barring the 5th fret, the top 3 strings, that gives me the top of a D minor 9 shape, I should say. So now the next chord, it's very similar, but instead of this shape, I'm going to use my 2nd finger on the 4th fret instead, barring the top 3 strings. The 1st finger remains where it was, the 3rd fret of the 4th string. Now, if we put a G on top of that, it's like a G altered voicing. So I've got a nice flat 9 there and a flat 13. So that is a nice kind of crunchy chord to play over a G7. And when I play this kind of chord again, do you see how my thumb is not really up high like it was for those earlier chords we covered? It's still in the middle of the neck, and I'm using my 2nd finger to kind of clamp down by making my knuckle bend backwards like this. Okay, so that's a very useful shape because you can add other fingers. See, I could play it like this, but it's very awkward to grab that chord, and also it doesn't give me any opportunity for messing around with the chord like what I'm doing there. Okay, so 2nd finger bars are incredibly useful in a lot of jazz chord contexts. Now one final chord, we're going to do this interesting version of it's like the C chord. Like let's say we're doing a 2-5-1 in C, this would be the C chord at the end. I'm not playing a root on the bottom, it's like a C6-9 chord. Okay, and this time again I'm using the 2nd finger bar, but I'm also using a 1st finger bar over the 2nd fret strings 4 and 3, and then this 2nd finger bar is on the strings 1 and 2 on the 3rd fret. Okay, once again my 2nd finger's clamping down, my thumb is more in the middle of the neck for these chords, and my 1st finger is also doing a bar. So it's like 2 bars in the one chord. Now again, a very useful chord because you can put other notes on when you're chord soloing with your little finger and so forth. So a very useful chord indeed. So now let's put those 3 chords in a little exercise that you can do. And keep in mind you can download a PDF that you can print out for your music stand of all these exercises via the link below this video. So let's kick it off. We're going to use a slightly different pattern now in the strumming and play along with me in the backing track, and let's get these chords cooking. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you would like a PDF of all the exercises that I've covered in today's session, make sure that you click the link in the video description below. My name's Greg O'Rourke, and as always, thanks for watching.